Victory! Victory! We get to talk about a win here on the Texans Collective here on the YouTube stream, and we appreciate everybody tuning in here on a Monday night. Great to be with you. I'm Sean Pendergast, of course, of Payne and Pendergast Sports Radio 610. To my right is Landry Locker of the Locker Room with Landry Locker and SNL. To the diagonal right is Reggie Atatula of In the Loop, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Sports Radio 610. And right beneath me here on the YouTube stream is Cody Stutes, Houston Football with Cody Stutes and SNL. Cody and Landry do a great job on SNL. You should be tuned into all these and following us on all the social medias. And we appreciate everybody who is subscribed and followed to our Monday extravaganza here, 6 p.m. every Monday, talking Houston Texans. And guys, we finally get to talk about a win. The Texans now 1-3 on the season. A game that probably on the scoreboard looks a little deceptive as far as to how it played out on Sunday. This was a game where neither team had gotten into the red zone until the end of the third quarter, when the Texans finally crossed into the red zone, and we all stood and celebrated in the press box as they got into the red zone, as if we got points for that. But fortunately, the fourth quarter was encouraging. 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, the first time that the Texans have scored 3 touchdowns on offense at home since week 4 of last season against the Jacksonville Jaguars. So it's been a full NFL calendar year since the Texans have scored 3 offensive touchdowns at home. So let's get right into it. I think once again, the topic is the offense this week. Was there enough there? And we'll talk about Woody Marks and the rookies and everything else that happened in this game that has long-term ramifications. But as far as this game goes, and particularly coming up with the Ravens game coming up this weekend, which we'll talk plenty about as well. How are we feeling about the offense now? How are your guys' audiences feeling about the offense? Was this game something where the Texans did just the bare minimum that they needed to feel good about the team, or is there optimism? How are we feeling about the offense after the explosion in the fourth quarter on Sunday?
Same way I did before. I don't really feel that good about the offense. But I do think there's some stuff to build on. And I think Woody Marks I think it should start with Woody Marks and then adjust accordingly on it. I don't think he should be a complimentary guy at this point. I think there's a lot of possibilities that he opens up in the pass game and the run game. He's actually very underrated between the tackles. I asked him about that yesterday in the locker room. I think it's an underrated element of his game. I think it might've been you, Reggie, at camp, where I said he's not really built like a guy that you think of as like a receiving back. Like, he's kind of built like a guy that looks like he can go between the tackles. And I don't feel good about the offense. I mean, your 5th trip of the season in the red zone was at the start of that fourth quarter. I think they put it on him late, which could maybe build some confidence. But I also don't think you should apologize for winning. And I don't feel worse. I'll say that much. I dang sure don't feel worse about him.
Did Sean just disappear into the darkness? Is that
what
just
whoops.
happened?
No, sorry about that. I was looking something. Sorry, I was trying to look. I have a comp I'm going to make in a second here, but I wanted to. Yeah. But
that's a tease.
So I was looking up some stats, but I'll do it on my phone instead of on my my browser.
Thank you. We love seeing your beautiful face. Thank you. I think for me, the 3 words that come to mind, or the singular phrase, is proof of concept. That's how I'm looking at this week. Give me the proof of concept that what you have and what you have said that you can do offensively can happen. If you stay on schedule, and if CJ makes all the right reads and makes all the right passes and everybody does what they can do, you can score 26 points in a football game. You know what I mean? Like that. Thank you for proving. No, but sincerely, like, CJ had a fantastic game, and he looked like, he made the right decisions. Even the passes that he had that were maybe not on target, the few ones that he did were not turnover type passes. I was thinking about it. Maybe the only one I could think of that was like a turnover, as close as possible to a turnover type ball, was when somebody was sitting down in a zone and he thought that receiver was going to continue on. He throws it, I think, to the feet of his own defender. But it requires all of those things. So, like, I'm still not in a place where I think, hey, against best case scenario type defense that you're playing against, and if you need to make up the ground on being behind the chains or whatever, I wouldn't put this offense up as my first guess, not my second guess, not my third guess. However, they have proven that if all the circumstances work perfectly, they can get points out of that. And that sounds like no duh, Reggie, but we hadn't seen that to this point. And so thank you for at least giving me the baseline idea that this can be a offense that works at all, period. I have to take some level of solace in that.
I feel a tiny bit better because there at least existed a potential outcome where they have that slop that we saw in the first half continue in the second half, that they fail on the early downs, settle for field goals, have play calls that don't make any sense, and CJ misses throws. But that was not what they had in the second half. Even the field goal miss in the second half on that drive, if they just operate a little bit differently on that third down instead of, the no huddle and hurry up and run it and get stuffed, they might have even continued that drive and gotten to the red zone a little bit early. Like, there exists an outcome where we're still talking about they can't put any points on the board, and it was the Tennessee Titans defense that they couldn't put any points on the board. We all understand the caveat. You're not going to face the Tennessee Titans defense every week, but they needed to show something. They needed to be able to operate a little bit, and there were bits and pieces of this that you would hope are easily replicable no matter the opponent. CJ Stroud making the correct check at the line of scrimmage into run plays or pass plays. Woody Marks' use. The offensive line showing a little bit of cohesion and semblance of able to move some people from time to time. Like, there should be things from this game that you can replicate, and hopefully Nick Caley understands, oh, hey, this stuff worked. I'll do that again instead of going back into my Patriots playbook.
Yeah, the throw to Jaden Higgins was the most encouraging throw of the year so far for me, for CJ Stroud, because it looked like a 2023 throw, drop in the bucket, back of the end zone. And then when you hear him talk about it after the game, that he saw something at the line of scrimmage where he said, hey, 50 was going over to help on Nico Collins. I saw one-on-one out here, and so I switched into this. And that was really encouraging, not just the execution and the throw, but also the way that CJ described how he got into that play. Because that's the big thing this year that's been the big change for him, is all this control he has at the line of scrimmage. The Woody Marks thing to me is just super encouraging, just big picture. I've been saying since the latter part of training camp that Woody Marks needs to be at the very least an equal part of this backfield rotation. And it was very frustrating through the first few weeks of the season, because if the front office and the coaching staff have a blind spot about anything on this roster, it's the running back position. The inexplicable inclusion of Dameon Pierce for the last year plus, where everybody seems to see that he is really not even a usable player at this point, and they insist on not only him making the team but using him in week one, and then they finally make him inactive in week two, is frustrating. That Daria Gumbawale is part of a crucial, used like he's a crucial part of this offense late in the game in week one, and then that he coughs up the football. And then in week 2 and 3, he's allowing himself to get trucked by cornerbacks on blitzes. And then finally, he's not part of the offense. They've settled in where it's these two guys. It's Nick Chubb and it's Woody Marks. You probably need another running back here at some point. And I'm saying all this with the thought that Joe Mixon is not going to be part of this team this year. In training camp, my thought with Woody Marks, guys, and this is the comp I was thinking of, and I've been thinking of it since August. If you guys watched this team in 2008, they had Amon Green on this team expecting him to be the guy, and Nick Chubb, I'm not saying he's Amon Green, but his signing is of a similar ilk, which is a guy who did a lot of things in one place and then comes here as a veteran guy, and he's just not the same guy that he was. I think the Texans knew they signed Nick Chubb for a lot less money than the Texans gave to Amon Green. Don't get me wrong. But I think the expectation was this guy's going to have a second chapter here. And Nick Chubb is fine for what they're asking him to do. But this team needs more juice out of the running back position. And if you recall, in 2008, Amon Green gets hurt and they settle in on a third-round pick out of West Virginia and Steve Slayton, and he ends up leading the AFC in total yards that year. And I'm not saying Woody Marks is going to do that, but I think he brings a similar – well, I mean, if he keeps doing what he did yesterday, he might.
There you go.
He had 120 yards. He had 120 yards. But I think it's a similar situation where you got a rookie. We drafted him. I think Slayton was a third-round pick. Woody Marks is a fourth-round pick. And at some point, there needs to be a trust level here with him. And the ironic thing to me about the Woody Marks thing is the one thing that these guys always talk about with these young backs is pass protection. Woody Marks showed in the preseason he knows exactly what he's doing from a pass pro standpoint. He's not what these other guys have been, where they look completely confused or physically overwhelmed. He took Quandre Diggs and gave him the rock bottom yesterday in the game. And it was really funny. We talked to him about it on the post-game show, and he's like, that guy was talking trash to me while I was on top of him on the ground. He was talking trash to me. And I'm like, what was he saying? What could he possibly have been saying to you while you had just pinned him? He's like, I don't know. He's telling me I'm a rookie and I'm trash. I'm like, while you were on top of him, he's saying this to you? Yep. So that's a whole Quandre Diggs thing. But the comp I was looking up when my face went into the internet ether was, I just wanted to look at that roster in 2008 just to make sure. And sure enough, Amon Green was on there. And I just think in this comp, like Amon Green and Joe and Nick Chubb are kind of the same, like veteran guy. We think we can trust him. He's not what he used to be. And then you realize at some point, you got to have some juice out of this backfield, man, especially when you're dealing with issues on the offensive line. The way that Woody Marks shook that last dude to get into the end zone was, to me, really encouraging. He's not just some guy who you hand the ball to, and if it's blocked right, he's going to get you 5 yards. He's a guy, if it's blocked right, he gets you the 5, and then he goes and gets you the other 15 when he gets to the second level.
Yeah, and I disagree with one thing you said, Sean. I think the throw of the year was the 2nd and 32 to Nico.
Yeah.
Because I think it was kind of symbolic of a lot of the frustration that people have had with Nick Caley, where even when the down and distance is a third of that, it feels like they kind of give up. It felt like there were times where they were just giving up and doing like throwaway plays and quick games. So I thought that, that was confidence and trying to move the sticks. So I thought that was the turnaround. The running back thing, don't get me started. You spoiler alert, when the draft comes around, I'm going to want to draft multiple backs. Like, ever since you've known me, I've wanted multiple running backs. And today when we talked to D'Amico, the Joe Mixon thing, I mean, I would be more surprised if Mixon played this year than if he didn't at this point. To be completely
You tried, Landry. I saw the press conference. You tried.
Well, I mean, that's what the people want to know. So, I mean,
Yes.
he said it, but I mean, that's what the people want to know. But the backs it's kind of interesting because I think in a lot of ways this football team, they kind of resemble what D'Amico values. Like they spend a lot of money on D linemen. The familiarity on the inside of the D line they use, that the assets, a lot of them go towards the defensive side of the rock with D'Amico. But I kind of roll my eyes when I hear D'Amico go up there and say, I think running the ball has always been something that I value, and I think we got to run the ball. Brother, you've had Dare Gumbawale on your team for the entire time, and I like him fine, but at some point there should be some way to where he's kind of forced out and you just say, thank you for overachieving. We'll always like you. Dameon Pierce has been hanging around for 3 years. Like I remember Sean, when you had Pierce on the last time I remember Dameon Pierce doing anything was the kick return against the Browns or whatever. And that was the last time that I remember like Dameon Pierce doing anything. And he's just been here. He's just been here. And that's the concern I have about this team. I don't want to get too far ahead of things, but there is a lack of depth on offense. Even trading Cam Robinson, I'm sitting there like, okay, so is Trent Brown the backup left tackle now?
Sir, there's a swing tackle, and his name is Blake Fisher. Okay.
Yeah, swing and miss.
And I don't know if they trust him on the left side. So the depth at running back, I think, is astonishing, and I think I'm with you on that. But I do like your comparison to the Woody Marks factor.
Yeah,
for sure.
To me, there's one of those Patriots things that, hey, if you're going to copy, why don't you copy this? I feel like the Patriots always had a bunch of backs they could trust.
Always.
Like even when they had one guy, there was always one or two more guys that if that guy didn't have it that day, boom,
always.
You can go to that guy. Like the Patriots used to ride the hot hand at running back. The Texans ride the hot hand at left guard. So it's like I'm glad that they've adopted the ride the hot hand for an offensive lineman.
The Patriots game that I always point to, and I've mentioned this 100 times, and this was something that I was kind of looking forward to with Nick Caley. Like maybe he took that philosophy, but I go back to the AFC Championship game when they beat Kansas City, and Sonny Michel had 100 yards. James White had like, I think 60 yards receiving, and Rex Burkhead had 2 touchdowns. Like that's just kind of like the committee stuff that they did that I would like to see eventually them get to here. But I do also wonder, like, if Dare Ogunbowale doesn't fumble, like, do we see as much Woody Marks? Like, it's almost like you almost like wonder, because that's the thing. I don't want to go back and too much, because I enjoy when they win, like, just like y'all do. Our lives are better. It's much easier when they win. But we've known Woody Marks was the best back on this team after 2 practices.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't some sort of thing that I think that a NFL organization or an NFL coach should have needed this long to see. Like, it's not like he's trying to beat out Joe Mixon. Like, we literally saw, like, the receiving skills speak for themselves. The between the tackle stuff, I think he's the best between the tackle short yardage guy that you got now, to where you're running the ball on 3rd and 4 and you're moving the chains with him. Like, it's great that this is finally happening, but I go back and I wonder, if this had been a thing the first 3 weeks, are we talking about a 500 team? Are we talking about a 3-1 team? Like, they've been, I don't know if you've heard this, but they've been close. And the decision to start your best player at a very important position, it feels like that could have potentially made quite a difference in what the big picture is right now, as opposed to what we saw yesterday.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, we've all been there on Woody Marks, at the very least, us 4, but I imagine a lot more people. The thing that I will wonder, and maybe I'm just towing a company line here, it's possible, is with the offense that they are running, how much of this are these young guys ready to fully embody all of it? Like, are they ready to understand all of it? Sean, correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't post-game Woody Marks kind of allude to the notion that he's still picking up more portions of what's happening within the playbook? I do wonder if there was some level of that from the coaching staff, where they recognize that he has juice, but they're like, how much is that juice directed in the right direction if we have questions about where and what he's going to do? Now, is that a solid enough reason? You can make that determination yourself. But I do wonder, and maybe this is also something that I can spin forward into a positive, where if that is what it is and they just need time for these young fellas to get a better understanding of what's happening within this system, that does hopefully bode well for the idea that they will get more and more utilization as this goes along, as opposed to they just misdiagnose this on the front end. That is the hopeful portion of me speaking, I guess.
Yeah, he did. He talked about that. I mean, he said he's not fully there yet. And I would expect 4 games in, he would say something like that. But to me, again, the big thing is that the biggest reason why rookie running backs don't get on the field is that coaches are afraid they're going to get the quarterback killed. And I remember we had him on the post-game show in the preseason as well for the home game against the Panthers. So we've now had Woody Marks on twice on the post-game show within a matter of 5 weeks. But I remember in the preseason, we asked him, Clint and I did, about how did you get so proficient in pass pro at such an early stage in your career? So this is something that we were definitely talking about him being good at back in preseason week 2. And he talked actually about how Lincoln Riley made it a stress point at USC for the running backs there. So, if you're looking to, I know Lincoln Riley's kind of a polarizing figure, but if you're looking at something he's at least good at doing, he got Woody Marks coached up to know that protecting your quarterback is kind of an important thing.
I would say to Reggie's point about, like, even if Woody hinted at it, I was told that they would accentuate the strengths of the team. The strengths of the team are these young guys, so accentuate them. If it's hard for them to pick up, make it easy. If they don't know,
Cody, he does it himself. D'Amico trusts rookies and defense like no other.
Yeah, if they don't know a part of the playbook, call plays from the part that they do know. Put them on the field, okay? Yeah. I don't want to hear any of this being a friggin' excuse for not putting these guys on the field. Jaden Higgins is better than Xavier Hutchinson. Put him on the field. Woody Marks is better than Nick Chubb. Put him on the field. They're playing a guy at left tackle right away because he was better than the veteran. The offensive guys are better than the veterans. Put them on the field.
No, I think you're probably right in that regard. One of the things I also wonder is all the blandness that we felt with the offense, how much of that was also we are trying to pare down what we're doing offensively.
Yeah. The chat is all jokes about Chubbs and Woodies and whatnot.
It's not going anywhere.
Yeah, no, I will say this. Chase says, why does Sean make his voice higher pitched to imitate Woody? Because Woody has a high pitched voice. His voice does not sound like the ferocity with which he runs. He's one of those people who if you had to compare voice to physicality, it's just not what it is.
Should I hit it? Should I hit it? Should I hit it, Cody?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, get out of here! Get out of here! Hey, stop it! Stop it!
No,
You know what? You know what? I'm putting up some body jokes between Woody and Chubb. This run gets me excited. Pun intended from Hack-a-Shack. There you go.
But I will say the youth movement is nice. The one thing that I think is kind of like a little bit misleading, Higgins didn't play anymore yesterday than he really has before. I think to maximize the potential of Higgins, first of all, it would be nice to see him eventually get to the point where they trust him as much as Hutchinson and as much as they did Watson. That's a little frustrating itself, but I think his value is going to be in the red zone, and they've only been 5 times.
Yeah.
But I do think the more they get to the red zone, assuming they do, I think we're going to get to see him put his skills to practice, because he's a basketball background. He really didn't completely focus on football till like junior year of high school. So he's a basketball guy that can go up and get the rocks. So maybe we get to see a little bit more of that as they make trips to the red zone.
Yeah, and that already shows up in like the early iterations of the data that, in breakers are not necessarily where he's been super effective. It's been deep, it's been outside. And so, yeah, you're right. It feels like when they take opportunities to take shots, which they haven't really done a whole bunch, he might be more of a go-to there. So red zone for sure. Feels like it's a place for him to thrive.
And I don't know what's up with Noel. Like, I mean, it's a weird, that's a weird thing. It feels like maybe he could help somehow, but there's like one play a game where they try to get him the ball, and then other than that, you really don't see him a ton on offense.
The only thing I'd say about Noel is that he's probably a slot guy, and that I know Cecil Shorts used to say this when we did the post game together, is that the second hardest position to play in this offense, because he was in O'Brien's offense back in 2015 when he was here, and he did the post game with me back when O'Brien was still the head coach. He said the second hardest position behind quarterback to play in this offense is slot receiver, because of all the reads you need to make at reading what you think the defense is going to do right there. There's a lot that plays off of what the slot receiver does, which is why, Christian Kirk's a veteran guy who's played in multiple offenses. He probably picked it up quicker. That's the only thing I can think of, because I'm with you. Landry, as you were laying out the whole Higgins thing, I'm thinking, like, in my mind, I'm going, okay, what now with Jalen Noel? Because that was the pick that everybody was lauding after the draft. It wasn't Higgins at 34. It was Noel at 79 or whatever it was. Like, that was the one when you looked at all the so-called experts out there in the draft, the weeks after the draft. That was the pick that seemed to be more universally thought of as like, wow, the Texans really got a steal right here. And he had a big impact in that Tampa game with all the returns. And he had a nice return in this game too. But they weren't lauding that pick because they thought the guy would make one big return every game. They were lauding that pick because they thought he would be a guy that would be able to make some impactful catch and run plays on offense.
I feel like they have almost put him in a box, and they've decided that he is one thing and he can't do other things. And maybe that's the overcomplicated offense. We always used to hear about how hard it was for the wide receivers. Bill O'Brien would say it. You mentioned the Cecil conversation, yeah. Sean. I think they've put him in a box, and that's not where he should live. The guy won outside against good competition in college football. He's got speed. He should be taking the top off of opposing defenses. You want those two safeties to back the hell up and let C.J. Stroud have some throwing room over the middle, but you run Jalen Noel deep a couple times on the outside. Those safeties will start paying attention, or CJ will drop it in a bucket over their head to the guy. I feel like they put him in a box, and they decided he's one thing. I'm like, okay, well, they're just not going to utilize the full extent of his talent and the full extent of what he can do, and it's because he's a young guy and they don't trust him. And that's silly, and that weakens their overall potential to their offense.
Yeah. As long as we're talking about rookies, what did you guys think? Have you guys had a chance to go back and look, or were you watching closely enough during the game? And we've talked about Noel and Higgins and Marks and their impact. It feels like this was a much better game it's hard to play worse than Ariante Ursery did in the last game against Jacksonville. He got his lunch taken by Josh Hines Allen. But are we feeling better about Ariante Ursary after this game this past Sunday?
Yeah, I know. I never really soured on him. I mean, it was a bad performance, but I expect it. Like I expect rookie left tackles to struggle at times, and I expect it to be painful to watch at times. But I never really soured on Ariante Ursary, but it was definitely a much better game, and I think it's pretty symbolic that, they just said, okay, bye Cam Robinson. Like they're not even entertaining the possibility that they're going to take this guy off the field. So I never really was down on Ariante Ursary. So yeah, it was definitely a good bounce back from hopefully the worst game that he plays this season. I'll say, I hope there aren't too many like that, but yeah, I thought he played well.
Yeah, similarly, I had no real effect from last week because that's Josh Hines Allen that he was facing off against. And he's three weeks into this. Yeah. And even if I did feel like that, it wasn't going to be the edges or the pass rushers of the Titans that would make me change that. This was to be expected. And if I was going to nitpick, which I'm not because it's Victory Monday, but if I was, I would say that he's still getting hit with those kind of those screen kind of tackle end games that they're running where, that tackle will come in and hit him in the side and then that end will just come and peel in off of that. That's still happening to him. He's going to need to figure out how to have the right vision on that. But ultimately, he's doing all the things. He's handling up, blocking pretty well in the ways that I expect him, and I think you should expect him to as a rookie. So, no, I'm in that place. He's shown the ability to do, again, the concepts, the conceptuals of what we want. And also, I really like watching him get out in space and see how defenders react to it. Like there was that one play that the run out to the edge by Marks, and they have him pulling. And boy, when he sure is pulling. It's a very big difference to when Laramie Tunsil was supposed to get out in space and just kind of lumbering. That man is moving weight, and he might not quite get the block out in space, but he affects what's happening out there. And so, I'm very happy with what Tay is on this at this time.
It is nice to have a left tackle that plays to the echo of the whistle and not to when he thinks the whistle should be blown. It is, and that is really nice. And I do want to add on. There are some really fun moments with Ursary when you're watching him in just the run game, not necessarily the outside stuff, but just when they decide to go inside. And there's some times where he just either gets to the second level and is dominating some linebackers, or he's just moving earth and he's getting rid of defensive linemen. So there's plenty to like about him, and there's going to be growing pains. It's just how often is he going to be able to seal off some of those growing pains? And I'm not expecting him to be a great left tackle right away, but you have to, over the course of the season, you have to start to see the building blocks and the signs of, okay, we're going to leave this guy out there at left tackle for the next couple of years, and then we're going to try to figure out exactly who the guy is for those other four spots. And I certainly could see where at some point this season we're even more comfortable with Ursary at left tackle than we currently are.
Where are you guys at with left guard? I know they were shifting back and forth, Scruggs and Tomlinson last week. It seems like this week they shifted back and forth, and then ultimately they settled on. Is that Juice?
I was like, Powerade? What are we talking about?
Juice.
Got it. Yeah.
That's Juice. It seems like they've settled in. It would appear, based on the second half of the game on Sunday, they've settled in on Scruggs. Is that where you guys at with that position?
I mean, it's cool. I mean, it's nice to see a young man amidst a lot of offensive linemen just kind of being lost causes from the jump. It's nice to see him. Now, maybe this says as much about Laken Tomlinson as it does him. That's a possibility. But he wasn't getting any reps in OTAs. He wasn't getting any reps in minicamp. He was holding the bag, which is typically what practice squad guys do. And then we always say, well, wait to see what happens when the pads get on. We say it with a lot of guys. It seemed like when the pads came on, he started performing better. You saw him with the second team, and then you saw him getting some first team reps. And now he's playing better than Tomlinson was. I asked him about it. He doesn't seem to think like he became that much better of a player. He seems to think it was just about reps. Like he seems to think that he was ready no matter what. But I think it's encouraging to see that a guy who I was calling him Juice Blacklock. I was wondering if he was going to be another second round pick cut in year 3 like Ross Blacklock. So it's nice to see that he is come on lately. Do I anticipate that we're not going to see some lowlights from Juice Scruggs? I don't. But I do think he's better than Laken Tomlinson. And based on that, I think they should just make the move and let him be
Roll
the
with
starting
him.
guard. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that, you hit on some things, and you really alluded to one of the things I want to get to, which is for now, right? He does look better for now. But the thing that I was thinking about, and again, I can admit that I'm wrong in the moment. We'll see if this ends up shaking up a little bit, is the size that Juice Scruggs brings to that guard position. I was wondering if that factor in. He looks pretty good right now, but I wonder if there's going to be certain circumstances where Laken Tomlinson is more useful to you, assuming that he's doing things right. Now, I don't know what those circumstances are, considering he's looked bad thus far. But I think Juice Scruggs absolutely has played better with the reps that he's gotten. I think just in the meritocracy that we are told so often that football is, Juice has earned that for the time being. And it feels like y'all are comfortable enough to play Laken if you need to. If you get to that place where you need to actually rotate, not for the sake of just to do it, but just because the circumstances aren't looking right, that's what the supposed competition is supposed to bring up. And that's kind of where the talent of your offensive line is anyways. Go ahead and let Juice hold that down until you need to move it around again.
I will say, though, I do wonder, like, if you bench Laken Tomlinson, like, what if he wants to play like Cam Robinson did? Because that was really y'all's justification for trading him. Like, you've kind of set a precedent where if a veteran isn't happy as a backup, you traded it. Like, you traded him to another team. Now, I don't know how many teams are going to want Laken Tomlinson to start for him or whatever.
You have to attach a draft pick to him to get rid of him.
But you have kind of established that precedent of, hey, if an offensive lineman, a veteran, is unhappy that a younger guy's playing ahead of him, we're going to come out and publicly say we traded him because of that. So I do wonder how he would handle it. He seems like a pretty professional guy, but he's also a guy who's started damn near every football game since 2018. It's one of the most fascinating layouts ever with Laken Tomlinson. Was Seattle fans thought he stunk, Jets fans thought he stunk, 49ers fans thought he was overrated, and then you look and it's like, this guy started every game since like 2018. Like it was actually kind of crazy. Like, this guy's so bad, but he keeps starting. But I do wonder how he would handle it. I do think it's something they need to do, though.
He's fine. He's Jamaican. It's Irie. It's one love. He's all good. I talked to him at training camp, man. He's very laid back. He's
you know damn well him being Jamaican didn't have anything to do with that. You just wanted to bring up some red stripe.
Oh, I need some red stripe. That sounds good.
I am fascinated by the depth of this team on the offensive line. I'm worried about any of the backups playing, but they're particularly thin at the guard spot because Juice Scruggs just took over Laken Tomlinson's job, and then the next guard is playing Jared Patterson out of position at guard.
Yeah.
Like that
is it. Yeah.
So it very much feels like if there are signs of good from this offensive line, one injury might be able to derail that because they don't have a lot of options. And yeah, that's probably the danger of when you sign a veteran and then have a different guy beat him out, is he may want off the team. And it'll be intriguing to see if Laken Tomlinson feels that same way, because all of a sudden, if he's out of there and you're having to grab some guy off the street or bring somebody up for the practice squad, it gets even thinner than it already is. But they should stick with Juice for right now, but I'm not putting past silly guard rotation shenanigans in Baltimore either.
Were you guys on CJ's performance on Sunday? Statistically, it was the best performance in a while. No turnovers, 2 touchdowns, 22 of 28 for 233 yards. And Landry, you brought up the Nico, the shot to Nico on 2nd and 33. I went and looked at the numbers prior to that pass. He was fine completing passes, but it was super dink and dunk, and it was under 6 yards per attempt, including that play to Nico. And afterwards, he was over 12 yards per attempt, and his passer rating was almost perfect. It was 156. How would you guys grade CJ's performance, and how encouraging was it for you just in terms of a trajectory from him heading into this next patch of schedule that we've got here?
He was all right. He was good. I mean, he still missed.
What did you grade him? You do a report card every week. What did you grade him on the report card?
The grades are dropping tomorrow.
Okay.
So I'll probably give him a passing grade, probably a C+.
Yeah.
C+.
Passing grade. Okay. I thought he was better, and I'm thinking about the. Oh, sorry. Were you?
I was going to say Professor
Yeah.
Reggie seems to disagree with that assessment.
Yeah, I feel like I've been a little bit more lenient, especially on CJ, than a lot of people have. Some people are wondering if you should even pay him, and I'm not sure that that's even a conversation that you need to have at this moment. It feels like what this offense wants to be, and you listen to CJ, and of course, I guess I am letting the person who is getting the grade determine the grade to some degree. Talking about death by 1,000 cuts, that very much sounds like the way that this offense was designed and how they want it to run. And when you come down to it, that's kind of the way that he's operated it, right? He's just looking for the thing, checking down, getting to the place that he needs to until he sees the opportunity to make his adjustments, make his alerts, and take his shots. And outside of one really, really bad pass that he should have connected with on a booty butt naked open Dalton Schultz, I think that he put the ball right where he was supposed to for the most part. He seemed to execute and operate the facilitation of an offense that we acknowledge is not very easy to generally, and it can be easy to take the bait of, well, throw this thing up there and throw it into danger and maybe get that turned around. He did not take that bait. I will give him credit for that again as a level of proof of concept, because this is him getting to that space in his development.
Some of these throws behind the sticks, though, are him. So that takes away a little bit. And he missed the one to Schultz that should have been a touchdown. And he had the one miscommunication with Christian Kirk where I don't know if Kirk was supposed to stop or CJ made the wrong anticipation or the wrong throw. And the tough part is you almost have to grade CJ with a little bit different approach, because if he has to be perfect or he has to play at a much higher level than a lot of guys, then you have to grade him with that rubric. Like, hey, you can't miss a throw to Dalton Schultz, because if that's 3 instead of 7, you lose by 3 points instead of winning by 1. Like, you can't miss that throw to Christian Kirk, because now all of a sudden you're punting and the defense is right back out there. Like, it's a very strange place to be. I almost hate that he felt like it was the death by 1,000 paper cuts, because they brought the bazooka out there in the fourth quarter, and I want to see him do that all the time. And I understand that some of it sets itself up and it builds, but you can't be building in the fourth quarter every time with this offense. Some of that stuff we saw late, we need to see that early in games. And some of it is CJ. Hey, if you got time and you're protected, don't throw it to Dalton Schultz for 5 yards when you need 8. Wait to see if somebody pops open or comes open.
Well, it makes you wonder if 2nd and 33 was the best thing that could have happened to the Texans, right? Are they running that play if it's 2nd and 12?
I don't want to hear any more bull crap about being behind the sticks when you can turn 2nd and 33 into
on a go route, like a simple run past L'Jarius Sneed. Like, there was nothing tricky about it at all. Like, Nico just ran and L'Jarius Sneed just got ran past. And it's to me, the comp for that is the Xavier Hutchinson play in the Chargers playoff game. And the circumstances in the area of the field was pretty similar, actually. They were backed up deep in their own end. But it was a play, like, you don't plan on being in this situation where the ball gets snapped to your quarterback and he fumbles it and he's running around and he bounces right up to him and he's got to roll out and have a playground play. But the fact of the matter is, in that Chargers game, that play was like the paddles on the chest to revive whatever the Texans offense was. And from that play on, they were outstanding. CJ was outstanding after that play. And I feel like the Nico thing, it wasn't as ugly before the Nico play as it was in that Chargers game before the Hutchinson play. But nobody plans on being in 2nd and 33. But the necessity of being in 2nd and 33 means you're taking a shot deep. It's a shame that the Texans have to be put into a situation where they have to run these plays as opposed to being aggressive and just running them so that you can, try and be on the attack.
It's just the Patriot way of Tom Brady. If Drew Bledsoe doesn't get hurt, does Tom Brady ever play? It's just, it's a big symbol, but I am with you. Like, it does feel like a lot of stuff is happening that would come across as kind of an adverse situation, and they're kind of making the most of it. And I do think that 2nd and 33 is symbolic. And it also feels like, dare I say, the Texans are kind of getting lucky lately too, because you also have now Baltimore. Like, I don't think we want to get ahead real quick, but I mean, my gosh, I mean, are they going to be favored against the Ravens at this point? Like, it's
No.
-3.5, I think.
Yeah,
is where
they're
Baltimore
not.
is.
Yeah.
But
they're
that's
not,
look,
they're
that's
not.
way
It's a
further
fair
away
question.
from where
Yeah.
where we imagined it would have been if you would ask me even 2 weeks ago what this line would have been.
yeah. There's no Marlon Humphrey. There's no Matabuke. There's no
Roquan.
Roquan's hurt. Like, everyone's hurt, and we don't know if there's going to be Lamar Jackson. So you look at where this team is and where they could be. And by the way, perfect placement of the bye, I think. Like, I think this is where they need the bye. But if they go into like the bye 2 and 3, I mean, things are kind of going their way right now. And kind of laying out for them based, especially compared to how things started and how they looked.
Yeah.
I wonder too, and CJ put maybe a lot more on 2nd and 33 than I would maybe want him to, but if he's right, then maybe it's a great point. That feels like an inflection point where D'Amico Ryans can look over at Nick Caley and be like, the stuff you've complained about is not stuff that you should be complaining about. Figure it out. And like, I understand a week ago it was, well, could you be a good offensive play caller if it was 2nd and 15 all the time? I don't know, but I'd call different plays. Like, I don't know if I'd be a better offensive coordinator than Nick Caley, but I'd try some different stuff than what he tried. And that's what it kind of felt like, where it's like, and D'Amico even said it today, you show we can overcome this. And then CJ talked about it like, it felt like everything kind of flipped for us, like in Jacksonville a couple of years ago when I hit a big play to Tank, and we kind of got it. And then, okay, well, if you get it on offense now, then hopefully you can carry that over. You can pull that through thread into another game, into the rest of the season. And we're not sitting there watching slop for a half of football where you got to hope Kaimi Fairbairn's the only way to score points.
One of the things I do wonder, kind of pursuant to that, is we haven't talked a lot about it here on this broadcast yet, but it's one of those things that was kind of an interesting nugget, finding out that D'Amico Ryans ceded play calling duties on the defense to Matt Burt. I don't know if that's for the game. I don't know if that's for the
was that a handle my lightweight, or is that a real thing? Was that that's what I wonder, like handle my lightweight type.
Well, I don't even think it's a handle my lightweight. It's like, hey, hold on to this real quick. I got to go handle something. And one of the things I do wonder is, what did he do that for, right? Is that to make sure that I need to get all of our operations correct? And that's part of why you end up with a game where you look a lot more disciplined all the way around. One of the things I was thinking about is, I do wonder, as a head coach and actually stepping into that head coach role, did he recognize an offensive coordinator that was floundering under the weight of all of his responsibilities and was like, hey, I can help you with some of the more executive function things so you can get back to calling like better plays and maybe not having to think about some of the other things that an experienced offensive coordinator would bring innately. And I do wonder if that's some of the reason why we see some things get better. Just a thing that I throw out here, because again, that is all speculation and hypothetical, but I do wonder how much that helps. And then if that remains the case and Matt Burke is now a permanent defensive play caller, so D'Amico can help pick up the slack, whether it's offensively or just generally get this team on their P's and Q's.
And it's a big change. I mean, like, regardless, I mean, I don't think it's like a rational speculation to wonder why, I mean, like, that's a big change. This is one of the most successful defensive coordinators in the last however long he's been doing it, with a defense that's playing pretty damn good. Like, this isn't Bill O'Brien handing over offensive play calling. This isn't like, hey, I'm going to kick the can down the road, as Lopez used to always say about BOB. This is him giving up play calling duties of really one of the top defenses in the NFL and figuring something out. So there's got to be some sort of reason and some sort of line of thinking. I don't think he's going to give it to us, really, because he's D'Amico, but it's a hell of a change, and it will be interesting. It's one thing to do it against the Titans, but in like December, is he going to give it up against the Colts? Like, is that going to be tough for him? Like, that's kind of I think it's a good thing to bring up, Reggie. I don't think there's a reason he did it.
I think anytime you look at something like this, look at the opposite and ask yourself, would this happen? In other words, if the offense were humming right now and D'Amico all of a sudden gave up play calling on the defensive side, I think we would all be like, what the fuck is going on? Why are you doing that? I think sometimes the obvious answer is the right answer. And I think he probably looks at this offense and sees that it's in kind of a crisis state right now, especially when you're 0-3. When you're 0-3 and the offense is the issue. They're the worst offense going into this game, the worst offense in the NFL. And it's not just that, it's the worst offense in the NFL, and your quarterback's getting his ass kicked. And it doesn't look like there's any end in sight. So to me, it's a direct tie. I think DeMeco is probably looking at the offensive side of the football and saying, I got to do whatever I can to help on this. I've got one of the most talented defenses in the league right now, maybe the most talented defense we've ever had in the history of this franchise. Matt Burke is a capable guy. Nobody's asking this defense to galaxy brain your way into a bunch of things. Like, it's pretty simple. You got Will Anderson, Daniil Hunter, and you got Kamari Lassiter and Derek Stingley on the back end, and you got some pretty good guys, talented guys in between. So I there's no chance that DeMeco is ceding play calling duties to Matt Burke if the offense is an upper tier offense right now. That's just my opinion on it.
I do wonder if this is kind of like what Landry alluded to, where, hey, that one teacher at school just can't handle the rowdy class, so you go get the old teacher to come in, and they just sit in the back. They don't really do anything. They just sit in the back, and the one kid starts acting up, and they look at him, and that kid stops acting up. But eventually that teacher goes back to their classroom, and it's up to the young teacher to figure it out. I think that's what I wonder if it is, because they didn't have any pre-snap penalties.
Nope.
DeMeco Ryans has got an extra set of eyes on the offense, and all of a sudden there's no pre-snap penalties. It's like, okay, all of a sudden you get a little bit more Woody Marks. Okay. Now, if he goes back and puts the headset back on and rips the play sheet out of Burke's hands and starts dialing up blitzes again, like, are we going to see too much Nick Chubb? Or are we going to see, a couple more false starts? Like, it is a fascinating thing to think about. And say what you want about Matt Burke. He's the only DC here in the past few years that's called a shutout. So
yeah.
Wow.
I love the idea of DeMeco Ryans giving you the football equivalent of just a good "hey."
Yeah.
Oh man, you guys
Mr. Howard, Mr. Howard.
Yes, yeah. Who would he be? Who's the most likely to get yelled at on the offensive side of the ball by crotchety substitute teacher, crotchety old OG teacher DeMeco Ryan? Probably, Titus, maybe.
Mr. Howard.
Maybe Ariante, Ursary, the youngster, thinking he can get away with some things, perhaps, maybe. Do you guys believe that Ed Ingram is the number one guard in the NFL right now? Because PFF does.
Well, okay.
Not when I saw what Jeffrey Simmons did this weekend. I don't. I'm sorry.
I'm just
that
bringing
alone,
up,
I'm just like, it can't happen.
Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just
disqualified.
bringing up numbers, okay? I'm just bringing up stats. And, because there's no more stat with integrity than subjective PFF ratings. Ed Ingram, number one. There can only be one best, and it's Ed Ingram right now.
Well, then call Kansas City and see if they'll trade Trey Smith for him.
No, I don't want that salary. We got Ed Ingram on the cheap right now.
Oh,
don't tell Casario that. Ed Ingram will be a rich man before the morning.
3-year extension. 3-year extension, right quick.
3 years. I know.
I will say this about Ed Ingram. I don't look over at Landry at home games or write down on my notes what the hell is Ed Ingram doing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's probably
that's a good sign.
It probably means he's doing a good job.
That's right.
It probably
That's
means
right.
he's doing a good job.
The O-line has gotten better, I will say. Like, if we're talking, like, the O-line, the first 4 games, it's clearly better than it was last year.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I would say that the Simmons play was rough. Fortunately, there wasn't more where that came from, though. Like,
that was it.
The game, and I was like, "Oh my god, this."
There were only 2 sacks. I mean, do we feel like CJ was under a ton of duress in that? I mean, there were 2 sacks. You can get sacked twice and still have it feel like, man, I was just, they were in my kitchen all day long.
He wasn't under a ton of duress.
Yeah,
like, you can look at the objective next-gen stats, and this is one of the lowest pressure games. Now, he was still in like the 20s on pressure percentage. I think he was good for 17th before we got Monday Night Football, which still isn't the greatest. But
that's a walk in the park compared to what he's used to.
It's kind of graded on a different scale. It's like talking about
20s.
Yeah, it's kind of a different scale when it comes to he was under duress.
He can handle that. He's used to the 40s or the 50s.
Yeah, dude, he can do that in his sleep. He's fine. So we got a few more minutes, guys. So we should talk about this Ravens game coming up. And man, this injury list, I've got them all written down. I think I got them all. Lamar Jackson, we're waiting. Right now, that's the most important hamstring in Houston sports is Lamar Jackson's hamstring, which we're waiting on. Roquan Smith has a hamstring injury as well. We may get the third time in 5 games that the opposing team is missing their stud left tackle. I know Ronnie Stanley's not what he used to be, but, we have Tristan Wirfs, we had J.C. Latham, and now Ronnie Stanley's injured. Both of their top cornerbacks, Marlon Humphrey and Nate Wiggins, are hurt. And Justin Madubuike just went on the injured reserve. He's out for the season now with a neck injury. This is a banged up defense that was already playing poorly before all the, granted against the Lions and the Bills, and yesterday it was Patrick Mahomes. But still, 37, 38, 41. They're giving up a ton of yards, a ton of points. And they might have Cooper Rush in there. Basically the Texans might be playing the 2024 Dallas Cowboys just with Derrick Henry at tailback on Sunday right now.
Yeah, it's shaping up nicely for him. It's shaping up very nicely. And even look, I'm not sitting here saying that the Ravens don't own the Texans. I'm not sitting here saying that the healthy Ravens don't dominate the Texans, but they weren't playing good to begin with, even healthy. So that's another thing about it. This is not your 1-year-olds Ravens or your 2-year-olds Ravens or your 3-year-olds Ravens. This team had a lot of issues before, and now they're just getting completely depleted. It's shaping up very, very nicely for the Texans to go get that dub, or at least have a puncher's chance to be able to figure that out.
Especially when you consider, right, the number of different ways that this lines up, particularly if those injuries are there. The Ravens ain't stopped a nosebleed when you're running, particularly up the middle. That does sound good for battering ram Nick Chubb or newfound belief in Woody Marks, even running up the middle, right? You talk about getting to the passer and bringing them down. 4-sack Daniil Hunter, 3-sack Will Anderson Jr. against either Lamar Jackson, who's been running for his life already, or even better, hey, Cooper Rush, what's happening, big dog? I am very intrigued by how that lines up. And then also the one thing that would maybe make you think for a second when you look at just the generic way you view the Baltimore Ravens is, well, Derrick Henry's over there. He can tote that rock. It's been explosives, not success rate for them. They haven't done this consistently. It's been, here they pop the big one, and that makes the numbers look good. If you can manage this pretty well, you have a good opportunity of being a team that, again, 2 weeks ago, I would have said, no way in hell do you have a chance of beating them.
2 days ago. 2 days ago, probably would have said that.
Yep.
Yeah, if Lamar plays, I'm not picking the Texans. If Lamar doesn't play, I'd probably pick the Texans in this one. It just, even a hobbled Lamar is going to have, I would think, enough to get them across the goal line enough to put up points where you'd think that the Texans offense would have a hard time outpacing them. The good thing about the way that their offense is put together in Baltimore is Zay Flowers is a nice player. Zay Flowers is infinitely better when Lamar Jackson is his quarterback versus, now Zay Flowers has to deal with the Texans coverage combined with the pass rush getting to Cooper Rush. And it's all of a sudden Zay Flowers isn't as intimidating. It's not like you've got to account for a Jamar Chase, a Justin Jefferson in this one. He's a nice player and even better when Lamar plays. But if Lamar's not playing, the usefulness of a guy like a Zay Flowers goes down a little bit. So you're not having to account for some elite, wide receiver production or anything like that.
This is really one of those situations where you feel the word valuable when you talk about most valuable player. I know he's not the reigning MVP. I know he's a 2-time MVP, and it's Josh Allen. But this is when he went down with that hamstring injury yesterday. We had the Red Zone channel on in the studio when we're doing the post-game show, and you're watching it, and Cooper Rush comes in, and it's just it's an entirely different football team. It's totally different. It's like a complete, it's like plastic surgery. This doesn't look anything like what you expect the Ravens to feel and look like. My thing with the Texans and Lamar being out for this game will go a long way to this, but Lamar or no Lamar, my hope once they beat the Titans and they're 1-3, my big thing is if I were to ask for something that I feel is reasonable for this team, I want them to be 4-4 going into that Jags game in Week 10, where you can get your win back from the Jags, even things up with them. That was a big win by the Jags in San Francisco yesterday. I hope Brock Purdy is as generous in Week 8 with the Texans as he was with the Jaguars yesterday. He was fucking honestly terrible. Yeah, he was. Yeah, no, Brock Purdy was awful yesterday. And they were terrible on special. Kendrick Bourne drops the third down pass, so they've got a punt, and they punt, and it's an 80-yard punt return for the winning, what ended up being the winning points in that game. If the Texans can be 4-4 going into that Jags game in Week 10, that's my thing. Like and if they beat the Ravens, maybe my expectations change a little bit. But I've been feeling that way before the Lamar injury, and I was working under the assumption Lamar would be healthy. And that was my request before that. I'm not going to get greedy and change it based on a hamstring injury to Lamar. But Seattle coming out of the bye, San Francisco, and then Denver both at home. And then you got the Jags for a third straight home. You got 3 straight home games after that Monday night game in Seattle. And Seattle's played well so far this year, but the Texans can beat Sam Darnold and the Seattle Seahawks, especially coming off of a long bye week on a Monday night. I think it's reasonable that they can win that game. 4-4 going into that Jags game. I think the fans are feeling better about the team. It means they'll have won some games against some big names at that point. And my hope would be that Jags game, especially considering how Week 3 went, would have a ton of juice going into that game.
That was my layout was 5-5 between the Tennessee Bred, because you got the Titans twice.
Yeah.
Week 4 and Week 10.
Yeah.
And then you got to go 3, assuming that you take care of business against the Titans, you go 3-2 in those 5.
Mm-hmm.
And then 9-8 can get you in the playoff race. So I'm with you there. I did not anticipate Baltimore being as winnable of a game. I won't say it's definitely not a bunny, but I didn't anticipate this being as winnable of a game. I actually sense, Sean, that you probably just had it chalked down as an L, and now it just you kind of look at it a little bit different. So it's
exactly.
So it's laid out about as good as they possibly could have. There are some things that are encouraging. There are also warning signs that are still there to where it's not a complete team, but you do still have your superpower, which is the defense. Mm-hmm. And not every team can say they have a superpower. And as frustrating as the offense has been, if you have a top 5 defense, you're going to be in a lot of games. And CJ Stroud figures it out. Maybe the offense plays a little bit better, then you start coming down to earth. We didn't even mention, by the way, MJ Stewart did a very nice job filling in for CJ Gardner-Johnson. I know it's the Titans, but I'd be hard-pressed if I didn't mention he's also got some swag out there. He's flexing after plays. By the way, more pass deflections than CJ Gardner-Johnson. It only took 1, so he in the first quarter.
All you got to do is be in the right place.
Yeah, as it turns out. Good. Yeah.
D'Amico had a lot of praise for everybody doing their assignment and being in the right spot after the game, so that was nice. One little thing about the Ravens game, you catch them this week, they're a little downtrodden. If you're able to beat them, regardless of their situation, it's a super important win, because I would think most of us believe eventually the Ravens are going to get right and get on a roll. If they're fighting with you for a playoff spot, you'd love to have that head-to-head tiebreaker. So I don't care if it's Cooper Rush, Trent Dilfer, Kyle Bowler. I don't give a damn who the quarterback is. If you beat them, it's a big deal.
Oh, that'd be awesome if Kyle Bowler came back for this game. That would be beautiful.
I think that might be the first time that's ever been said in the history
that would be
of
beautiful.
Existence.
What is Kyle Bowler doing these days? What's he up to?
Great question. I would love to know the answer to that. In addition to MJ Stewart, I am interested in this Jay Reed returning and what that could also mean. Obviously, that's more of a down the road type thing. But that was a dude who also, when we talk about young guys and flashing during camp, he looks pretty damn good himself.
And we should. Danico Autry, I think, D'Amico said today, right? Danico Autry and Jalen Reed are the 2 who are going to get activated. That all of a sudden gets kind of interesting along the defensive line, because
Darrell Taylor, just a healthy scratch, kind of feels like it's.
You think that's it? That's as simple as that? I mean, he's been healthy scratch the last couple of weeks with no Danico Autry on the roster.
Yeah, I would think Darrell Taylor would be the one that you would look at there. Maybe I don't know. I think Horton's too valuable to him on special teams, but it does feel like the Daryl Taylor stock is just very low right now.
Yeah. Well, that'll be
quick fun fact. Kyle Bowler married a Miss America.
Oh, wow.
Well, he is an former NFL quarterback. I mean, Miss America don't care if a guy can't complete a 20-yard out route.
That's still impressive.
It is impressive. It is impressive. All right, gentlemen. Well, this was enjoyable as always. Always more enjoyable after a win, and always enjoyable when the next opponent is the Baltimore Ravens, and they might be at least slightly debilitated. So
I just want to note the Texans did it for me. I just
Reggie and the hose.
wanted to bring that back. You know what I mean? So
you threw you a game ball. It said hose on it.
All right. Hey, one more quick one here. I want to put this up here. This is also from Hackashack. What do you guys think about the Tank Dell info Ross Tucker dropped during the game? Any optimism? Ross said that he saw Tank running sprints. I guess Ross was out of practice when he was here for production meetings, and Tank was out there running sprints. And there was even a report, I think Jonathan may have had it. It was in the Chronicle. I forget who exactly was writing it. Chances are it was Jonathan. That the Tank is actually taking part in some on-field stuff out at practice, which is weird because he's on the PUP list. I don't even know if that's allowed.
So when I've seen Tank on the field, Tank acts as like the ball catcher for the quarterback that's throwing in the drill. Like Frank Ross is throwing the wide receivers, Tank would catch the ball and hand the ball to Frank Ross.
Okay.
So it's like, it's not like
that's it.
Like, no, Tank not running routes, or anything like that. I mean,
Ross,
that's right, Roger Goodell. Tank is not running routes.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah. Or doing anything on field.
I wouldn't put it past an organization that has Nick Caserio as the general manager that might push the rules a little bit.
That's
okay.
Right.
But look, I don't want to answer for everybody, but we're all we'll be totally, absolutely 100% floored if Tank Dell is available to play in 2025.
I think it would be kind of irresponsible for him to play this year. I think you got to let him rest. I also think that he kind of has a little bit of a Stingley element where I've said this. I think Derek Stingley probably gets engaged on a football field. I think he probably gets married on a football field. I don't think he wants to be off of a football field. So I think the Tank can do basically anything like around the team. I think it's there, but I would be very shocked if we saw Tank Dell this year, like very shocked.
Yeah, I like the take about the irresponsibility of putting him out there. I'm with you. Just live to fight another day. If he gets back to being Tank in 2026, just let Christian Kirk walk and throw Tank back in there, and you got Tank and Nico, and then the two rookies are now second-year guys, and that's exciting.
They'll be trusted because they're not young guys anymore.
That's right. That's right.
Has anyone seen Braxton Berrios, by the way? Has anyone seen Braxton?
I saw his name on the inactive list on Sunday.
I also saw his name. Did you see the Texans post about international players? Lo and behold, Braxton Berrios, Puerto Rican. Didn't realize that today. I learned. I was like, shout out to my Boricua, Braxton Berrios. Shout out to you, big dog.
Boricua.
Didn't know that was the case. And this is the thing. This is why I question it. Because have you ever met a real and true dyed-in-the-wool Puerto Rican that didn't let you know? Like, that's a real question for me. That is a real question for me.
I'm trying to think.
Great. This is great. No,
this is what I bring. Y'all got the football. I'll bring you the Puerto Rican analysis.
I too was surprised that Braxton Berrios was representing a country that was not the United States.
It would have been one of my top 10 guesses if you
Puerto
told
Rican
me
is a territory of the United States. You got to remember that.
Well, it was U.S. flag, I suppose, is what I was.
We need an international game in San Juan, and we need Braxton Berrios to be the ambassador for the NFL to San Juan, Puerto Rico.
Braxton Berrios better be watching his back for a roster spot. They got some hurt guys.
Oh,
they need a roster spot pretty soon. So.
Well, don't you have two roster spots right now, just after the Cam Robinson trade?
Well, you got to imagine one of them is a tackle, and I would think the promotion of Trent Brown from the practice squad getting signed to the active rosters. But yes, there are currently two open roster spots. They only have 51, so I would think by Sunday they've got 53.
Yep. Any favorite Cam Robinson memories for any of you guys before we shut this thing down for the night?
When he said in his introductory press conference, when I asked him the last question, he said, "I'm not afraid to compete." And then
He was.
He
Well,
wanted.
I mean,
to play
he did
Cleveland.
compete. He just happened to lose.
He'd lose. Yeah, he'd lose. Yeah, he lost, and then now he's on his way to Cleveland, which is also losing. So there's
True.
that. Yep. All right, fellas. Well, enjoyed it as always, and we will do it again next Monday. Appreciate you guys. Good stuff.
Oh, that was supposed to be a call and response. Love
Yeah,
you, Sean.
yes, yeah. Love you guys. Yeah,
Love
that
you
was all.
guys.
I was going
My
to
bad.
tell the audience who everybody is, but I just wanted to let you guys know that I love all three of you very, very much.
Yes, sir.
All right. Yes, thank you, Reggie. Appreciate
Braxton
that.
Berrios. What I learned today: Braxton Berrios and Savio Vega, one and the same.
That's
That's
right.
right, man.
I've often said that.
Yes, yeah, they're the same. They're the same. That is Landry Locker giving you some attitude era analysis. Braxton Berrios, one of the Bariquas. You can find him on the Locker Room with Landry Locker and on SNL. Reggie Atatula to the lower right. You can find 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on In the Loop on Sports Radio 610. And of course, Cody Stutes, Houston football with Cody Stutes and SNL as well. Gentlemen, this was a great night. For all of you that listen and watch, we appreciate all of you. Be sure, if you haven't yet, to give us a like, a subscribe, just anything that's positive feedback that gets you following this weekly show. We very much appreciate. So we will see all of you next Monday night, hopefully after a victory over the Baltimore Ravens. Until then, enjoy the week, everybody. We will see you next time. End stream.